Finally, my favorite show in all of television, 100% my favorite show on television right now, The Godfather of Harlem, just debuted Season 2, Episode 1. In this video, we're going to break it on down. What up to all my thugs, nerds, geeks, and freaks? As always, if this video hits 500 likes, I will give away 2 months of Netflix or any other digital service that you want to a subscriber who leaves a comment on this video. As I said, this is my favorite show right now on television. I'm going to break it on down, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions of it right after. So this episode starts out with a really good car chase scene, and we hear a song, brand new song from the late great DMX playing in the background. Now, while Bumpy is being chased, we see him get away by having the cars crash into each other, which is kind of a metaphor of how he gets out of this whole situation in the end, but we will cover that when we have to, when we get to that part. Then we see he has Jihan's chemist in the trunk, and he pulls him out of the car, and he's trying to get him to take a deal, but the guy doesn't want to talk. So we see the patented straight razor come into play, and he slashes him, and that is how we basically start this episode. What an opening scene of an episode has to do for a new season is kind of recap you of what's going on and set you up for what's going to happen. And I think they do a truly good job on both fronts doing that. Now, we see that Bumpy's been hiding out for 3 months. He's been on the run from the Italians for 3 months since last we seen him last season, and at this point in his life, he sees that he's kind of going crazy, stir crazy, being locked up and being on the run. Now, while talking to his wife on the phone, we can see that Bumpy is concerned that he is not going to make it out of this, that he may not survive this whole situation. And if that does happen, he doesn't want to be remembered by his family as the gangster that the world knows him as, but the man himself, the man who truly wants to help people, who uses what he has to help his community. He may do it in shady ways, but still at his heart, he's a good man. He's really concerned that he won't be remembered how he wants to be remembered. So Bumpy, after that, comes up with a plan to cut off the French connection, and that's how he plans on getting the mafia off his back. We then turn to the Chin. He's upset that they still can't catch Bumpy after all these months. We do see him bring up John Kennedy's assassination, and he does suggest that the mob has something to do with it. While saying this, he gets mad, saying that if he had his boy Benny up here, then Bumpy would have been a dead man. Now, who is he talking about? He's talking about Philip Lombardo, also known as Benny the Squint or Cockeyed Phil. He was the boss for the Genovese crime family during the 1960s until the late 1980s. Now, Lombardo began his career being a soldier for Michael, who was known as Trigger Mike, Capallo's powerful 116th Street crew in East Harlem section of New York. Now, during the 1940s, Lombardo served a brief prison stretch for narcotics and drug trafficking. I don't know if they're going to get into that or exactly how he does eventually take over, but that is the man that they're talking about, Benny the Squint. We then get our first shots of Malcolm X, and we see him talking about the Kennedy murder to a Nation of Islam brother, who we find out's a snake in the grass later, but we don't really know that at this point. Alright, later after that, Bumpy goes and meets with Gene, and he wants him to become his supplier, and he name drops Lucky Luciano and how he used to work with him, and now he wants to expand his business, but he does get turned down, and he says to him basically, listen, you're going to be my supplier one way or another, whether you like it or not. And that's how the mafia people get down. Look, you're going to do it my way, the easy way, or the hard way. They then jump to Stella. We haven't seen her, and we catch up with her, and she's basically been held hostage in her own room because her parents think that she's going to kill herself because they killed her boyfriend Teddy. She's still going through all the trauma dealing with that. At the end of her scene, we see her tell her mother she hates her, throws stuff at her, and chases her out of the room. We catch up with Malcolm going home, and while he's going home, we hear them talking about the Kennedy assassination on the radio. And then while he's at his house, it reveals that he does have beef with Elijah Muhammad, and they're trying to push him out. Now Betty is trying to tell him, listen, your home is not there, your home is here, and we have been happy to have you home. The girls are finally starting to get to know you, your kids are finally starting to get to know you. But Malcolm, being a man about his work, instead of realizing that this house with his family is the home that he needs and deserves and where he should stay, just is trying to find a way back into the good graces of the Nation of Islam. After that, there's a commission meeting with all the family. Gene pops in. They give him $1 million for the heroin. Gene says, listen, Bumpy came to see me, tried to make a deal with me. They're like, this is your problem. Chin's like, oh, I'm on it. And then he gets information from his boy that there's a Muslim woman dropping off food to who they think is Bumpy. So Chin declares, puts his name on it, saying Bumpy's gonna be dead before the day is out, because they don't have respect for, because he was nothing more than a chauffeur who moved all the way up to boss of this family. And the real mafia people who work their way up through other means don't really truly respect him. We catch up with the Reverend, and he wants to go home, and he's driving back to Harlem, and that's what the theme of this episode's about. Home, finding your home, and wanting to return to your home. And he's trying to go home, but he has to deal with the Esther James situation in order for himself to get there. We then see the method man playing the role of Sam, meeting with Bumpy, saying that they want to jack the 500 keys. They get a little comical with the next scene when you deal with the Chin and his wife, because it's kind of like The Exorcist, like she's this crazy woman. So they bring over a priest to talk to her like she's like possessed by some demon. And he basically tells them straight up, listen, she's depressed right now. Her boyfriend was killed and she thinks you had something to do with it. That's why she's acting out. But he does say that they don't believe that she's suicidal. The priest doesn't believe she's suicidal and she's safe and she needs to get out of this house. Chin then later comes up with a plan to have his boy be the one to walk her around and take her out and get her out of the house and everything else. His wife seems to be truly afraid of her daughter right now, but that's what that sets up. At the 22 West Diner, Malcolm meets up with Bumpy's daughter. We seen last season that she became a Muslim woman, and you know, she also has a crush on Malcolm X, but he reveals that he had to be silent for 90 days, and he tells her how Bumpy told him that she killed someone to save Bumpy's life, and that he's concerned about her soul, if there's going to be, you know, some problems, she's going to have some after effects. But she tells him, listen, this is what it is. People in the Nation of Islam kill people. Don't worry about me. We then see her show up with Bumpy's food while the mafia people are waiting outside. She meets with her father. She gives him rice and gravy. The mafia hitmen then jump out of the car with Tommy guns. Bumpy tries to explain the street knowledge that he has dealing with Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam, that there's no way that these two parties are going to be seeing eye to eye ever again. It's a war. It's gonna have to end in the war no matter what. One of them will not survive. There's no way they could work together again. She doesn't agree, and as we see later, Malcolm doesn't agree, but Bumpy knows the streets, and this is all this is, truly is, a street game. Bumpy's granddaughter then calls and reveals that they've been staying at his aunt's house down there. When that happens, we see the Garrett go around the one dude's neck. They choke him out. The mafia men then go upstairs. They take out the sniper on the roof. Bumpy hears the commotion, tells his daughter to go hide in the bathroom, pushes over the table. He puts two guns out there, and he has his boy go over to his right. And that's how they set these dudes up, because they come in the room blazing, and his boy then lets out a single shot behind the door. They think he's over there by the door. Bumpy's really hiding behind the table. He pops up, shoots and smokes them both. After that, we hear the wife on the telephone screaming, hello, hello, are you okay? So the daughter or the granddaughter must have heard the action going on. After she did, she handed the phone to the mother. The mother picked up the phone, and that's how she got on the phone. We then catch up with Malcolm X back in his house, stressed out, getting a soldier massage, and they talk about the allegations against Elijah Muhammad for having sexual transgressions with younger women, and Malcolm is siding with him and his wife is siding with the women, and she's 100% right to be siding with these women because they were taken advantage of. Stella is then in her room and she says that, oh, when Teddy died, I died. She grabs the gun. I thought she was going to shoot this dude, and I wish it went that way. I thought she was going to shoot this dude, but instead she puts the gun to her own head. He talks her down, and then she puts the gun down, and that's basically how that ends. After that, we see Miss James agree to take the $40,000 payout, which $40,000 back then is a hell of a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, but back then, it's a hell of a lot of money. But she can't talk, she can't go to the press, she can't do anything, and the only apology she's gonna get is the one he's willing to give them right then. Bumpy plan does go in effect, and they do wind up stealing all the heroin that they planned on. So then Bumpy goes and he meets with G, and he's like, listen, I know the guys who took the heroin, but if you want it back, you're gonna have to play ball with me. And that's when we get the line, welcome to America, because that's basically what it is in America. You have to work with people you may not want to work with because it's in your best interest. At the end, Bumpy then walks in on the commission with Gene, saying the exact same thing. Listen, it's either you can kill me, one dead black man, you can have another dead black man, or do you want all your heroin? If you want your heroin, you got to drop all the sanctions against me. And in the end, Chin beefs about it and is like, no, let's kill him. But money talks and bullshit walks. That's the bottom line. They agree to drop the sanctions on Bumpy, and then we see everybody going home. Bumpy goes home. His daughter is there. His granddaughter is there. They's home. Pal is back home preaching. He made it home. Malcolm X seems to go home, but by going home, he's leaving his home in the process because he thinks that he's going back to the Nation of Islam. At the end, we see the guy drop dime. That what Malcolm was trying to protect Elijah Muhammad will be used against him, making them think that he's against him. And obviously, we know what happens to Malcolm X. Most likely, we're going to see that this season. As I said earlier in this review, this episode was all about home, family, and what you would do to protect your family, protect your home, and what you have to do to get back to. What are you willing to do? That's what everybody had to do in this episode. I thought it was a great opening episode. As I said a little bit earlier in this review, an opening episode is supposed to catch you up and set you up for the rest of the season, and I think they did a great job doing that. Listen, there's a couple of nitpicks I could put in it, but I love the show, so I'm not. But if you have some, put it in the comment section, and 100% let's talk about it. If you want to have a full, in-depth conversation about this, I can do a live stream that could last an hour or more every week if you want that. Let me know in the comment section if that's something you're interested in doing. I could do a pre-game show and one right after if you want. Let me know in the comment section again if that's something you would be interested in. If you made it this far through the video, please help a brother out by thumbs upping the video, leaving a comment in the comment section. That's the only way YouTube will spread this video throughout YouTube, and I will get some subscribers. Hopefully, if this is your first time here, you subscribe after listening to this. I'll be back next week with another review. As always, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.